Hello and welcome to my reattempt at recording this presentation. I've tried to record it like 3 times, but I forgot to turn my microphone on. Fantastic. I'm really hoping that this works because if it doesn't, I'm gonna crash out. So this is exam 4 and 5 presentation. I am Abigayle Gonzalez. Obviously, I had no other ideas for this title because I didn't know what I was supposed to put for it. So the things I'm covering is Plasmodium and Canemonium. First we're going to start with Plasmodium. When and who discovered it? Plasmodium was discovered by Charles Louis Alphonse Leveran in 1880 with the original name of Oscillera malariae. What is the source of this pathogen? I call it a bloodborne pathogen, as that one of the only ways to receive it is by infecting blood or by an infected mosquito bite that infects the blood. The nature and classification. The classification of Plasmodium consists of its kingdom, Protista, phylum Apicomplexa, class Conodacida, order Hemosporta, family Plasmocidae, and genus Plasmodium. Its transmission, as previously stated, it transfers through blood contact, through open cuts or wounds, while more common transmissions would be through infected malaria mosquitoes. Another way to receive it, which is very rare, is through blood transfusions, which could be like, so they took blood from someone who had malaria and they transferred it to you, therefore now you have malaria, which is in my opinion, one of the worst ways to receive it. On the microscopic level, a morphology of Plasmodium is a unicellular eukaryotic protozoan and possesses an apical complex for the host cell invasion. Mechanisms to infection. The flowchart of malaria would be able to transfer from a mosquito to sporozoites entering the bloodstream to then traveling to the liver till it infects red blood cells. Then it creates gametocytes, form, finally taken up by the next mosquito bite, and then repeats the cycle. I don't know why I keep seeing my text on here. How does it reproduce? In Plasmodium, it is able to reproduce both asexually and sexually, and in a host it is able to reproduce asexually, like a person, and sexually when it is in a mosquito host. There's a little chart right there on how it reproduces on both. Prognosis. The chances of survival will be with it are really high with immediate care after signs start showing. About 697,000 deaths globally in 2022 were recorded in sub-Saharan Africa. Some first-line treatments would include supportive care such as blood transfusions, intravenous artesunate, and chloroquine. Our diagnosis would be a microscopic examination of the blood smears, rapid diagnostics test of polymerase chain reaction that would be able to identify whether or not one has been infected with Plasmodium. Some medical inventions. Today, we have medical treatments that include the R21/Matrix M vaccine, the RTS vaccine, and then this autocorrected, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like N1. Yeah, NIN1. It's a drug approved for treating rare genetic conditions and is also toxic to malaria spreading mosquitoes, which doesn't necessarily treat the problem on site, but it treats it from spreading from person to person through the transmission of mosquitoes. Symptoms. Common symptoms would include fevers, chills, headaches, fatigue, and nausea. However, the more severe symptoms would include anemia, jaundice, organ failure, seizures, and comas. Global prevalence. In 2023, approximately there were 26 million cases of malaria globally. The approximate of deaths was about 597,000 in the African region. And the African region continues to have the heaviest burden of malaria, accounting for 94 to 95% of it worldwide. Evolution since discovery. Origins. Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium vivacius evolved from parasites infecting wild living African apes. I'm not going to say that it resulted from a recent cross species of parasite, and P. vivus emerged from an ancestral stock of parasites that infected chimpanzees, gorillas, and humans in Africa. Apicoplast, Plasmodium, I don't know, it's plasmodium, anyways. Species possesses apicoplast, non-photosynthetic plastid, crucial for survival. This organelle hosts important metabolic pathways like fatty acid synthesis and part of human biosynthesis pathways. Economic consequences included malaria costs in Africa estimated about 12 billion a year due to healthcare expenses, lost work days, decreased productivity, and reduced tourism and investment. Some of our social impacts included malaria disproportionately affects children and pregnant women. Cerebral malaria in particular can lead to long-term neurologic and cognitive impairments in children, affecting education and development. Some of our historical impacts. Malaria has shaped human settlement patterns and development, particularly in tropical regions. In this major obstacle to economic progress in the southern United States and colonial regions during the 19th and early 20th centuries. Moving on to Klebsiella pneumoniae, also known as K pneumoniae. When and who discovered it? Klebsiella pneumoniae, first called Friedlander bacillus, was first discovered by German microbiologist Karl Friedlander in 1882, hence the name. Nature and classification. K pneumoniae is classified as a bacterium and is gram-negative, encapsulated, and non-motile, as a bacterium tends to be able to infect a host and be resistant to an antibiotic resistance. Yeah, I don't know if resistance wrote twice. Anyways, what is the source of the pathogen? This pathogen tends to more spread commonly person to person and is less likely to spread through contamination of the environment. Our transmission goes deeper into this as it is able to spread person to person. It is also able to spread through water and soil, infected equipment, and through cuts and wounds. The thing is with this one is does not go airborne, so you technically can't get it through a cough. You can maybe spit up the particles and accidentally get it on a table or something like that, but the particles cannot go airborne, and like if you inhale the infected air, it's not gonna hurt you because there's no airborne particles. On a microscopic level, morphology, K pneumoniae is a gram-negative rod-shaped, typically appearing as a short, thick rod found in singles or pairs. I provided a picture here of what it looks like gram-stained. Mechanisms to infection. One of the examples I found was LPS, which triggered activation of the complement system, masking itself as a polysaccharide, so it can make a way for the pathogen to enter the cell. How does it reproduce? I wasn't able to find how I was able to reproduce. It did come up with some answers, but it was for other types of Klebsiella, not pneumonia. However, I was able to find the media it is to be cultured on. It is able to grow on LB and McConkey media at the temperature between 35 Celsius to 37 Celsius. Degrees. Is that degrees? I don't know. Prognosis. Survivability varies, however, it is higher in immunocompetent individuals. Just means healthy individuals. The mortality has increased in cases of sepsis in immunocompromised patients. This includes people with asthma, people with autoimmune diseases such as those. Some of our treatments, antibiotics such as carbapenems, colitis, triglyceride, would be able to treat K pneumonia. However, some people are resistant to carbapenems, which could lead to treatment difficulties. You will see why later in, I think, its evolution. Our diagnosis, some methods of testing would be blood cultures, urine cultures, sputum analysis, and imaging for pneumonia, and antibiotic susceptibility testing. Some of our symptoms would include cough, chest pain, fever, fatigue, sepsis, and signs such as hypotension. Our medical innovations includes bacteriophage therapy, vaccine development targeting pneumonia, which antimicrobial stewardship, which involves programs to optimize the antibiotic usage. Global prevalence, the high incidence areas would be sub-Saharan Africa and parts of Asia. Hyperprevalent strains causing infections in healthy individuals, leading to a chance for it to spread around the world. Obviously, we see a trend here between the two I researched, as there's more cases in sub-Saharan Africa because they do not have access to as advanced healthcare as the rest of the world. Our evolution since discovery, Klebsiella pneumoniae has undergone significant genetic evolution since it was first identified in 1882, primarily driven by antibiotic pressure and environmental adaptation. Antibiotic resistance evolution. One of the most critical evolutionary developments is the acquisition of resistant genes, especially those encoding for ESBLS, enzymes that break down penicillins and cephalosporins, carbapennemases. Enzymes. These were the enzymes that make pneumonia resistant to the carbapenems, which are usually used as a last resort. This is what I was talking about when I said it can lead to more resistance and damage rather than actually helping a patient. I did find more examples, however, it was a very long list and probably could go on for like a billion quadrillion pages, but these were the ones that I found more important to talk about that. Some economic impacts included infections caused by multi-drug resistant pneumonia dramatically increased hospitalization time and treatment cost and mortality. These infections can cost thousands of dollars per patient in additional care, especially those in intensive care units. Social impact, the spread of carbapenem-resistant pneumonia, also known as CRKP, threatens vulnerable populations, including elderly, newborns, and immunocompromised patients. Again, just meaning people with like autoimmune disease and asthma, people that have weakened immune systems. This leads to an increased fear and burden on caregivers and healthcare workers. Historical relevance, originally considered a rare cause of pneumonia became a major concern in the 20th century with the rise of antibiotic resistance, especially during the era of widespread antibiotic use. It has become a symbol of a broader crisis of antimicrobial resistance. And that is it. And then I have a beautiful, chaotic works cited page. There's two. Gorgeousness. I'll just stay on here for a second. Boom chakalaka. Boom chakalaka. I don't know if I cited all the entire pages that I used. I tried, so I'm very sorry if I didn't. I'm not trying to plagiarize, I swear. But I think I cited like 21 different sources, so if there was more, it was very hard to keep track of them. Continuing on, I did also rush this because my laptop just got broken recently, and so it is getting harder to get used to the PowerPoint on an iPad. It's a lot harder to use than just being on a computer. Also, I had to switch it to Canvas, so that's life. Thank you for listening to me for however long this presentation is. See you later.